All right, welcome to another Scouching report. Today, I am really excited about this one. We're taking a look at another really high-end young player in Mr. Anton Frondell of Djurgården in Stockholm, Sweden, fresh off of a promotion to the Swedish Hockey League. If you're unfamiliar, my name is Will. I operate Scouching.ca, and if you don't know, I watch these players all season long, gather data on their performance, and put together long-form reports at the end of the season and really get to know what the player brings to the game and maybe some areas of potential improvement. So, before we get into this, definitely if you like the video, like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you really like it, definitely check out Scouching.ca and consider a subscription over there with all kinds of fun little data tools and visualization tools. And you get access to these videos as soon as they're done, so check that out as well. We also do live streams Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and Thursday afternoons at 2 p.m. Eastern. So with that, who is Anton Frondell? And Frondell is a player who I have really waffled on him all season long. I go back and forth every single month, every time I see this guy. But as the year has gone on, my opinion is kind of solidified into seeing Frondell as one of the more complete, overall, help you in any situation type forwards in this draft. He's one of the Swiss Army knife guys this year, and I think he's a good one. Generally, I'm a little skeptical of these players who are kind of these, good at everything, but not necessarily super special in certain areas, and Frondell just brings a lot in some really key areas that I think gives him a lot of options for where he could go in his NHL career, and I think in this year's draft class that's a really big advantage for him. Frondell is physical, he's a pretty decent skater as well, he's got a wicked shot, he's a really good player under pressure, working off of contact, and he plays a really projectable game that, in my opinion, could play up the middle of your lineup, somewhere down on the third line or something, or he could complement some really high-end offensive talent on your team if you put him on the wings on the first or maybe second line and see how things go from there. He brings a lot to the game in very diverse ways at multiple positions, and the flexibility is really what you're getting with Anton Frondell, combined with the projectability of this sort of physical finishing style of play that he has. So let's get into exactly why that might be and take a closer look at Anton Frondell. The first thing we're going to look at is the physical play here from Frondell. So Frondell is number 14 here. He's going to be all over the ice in all of these clips because he played a little bit at every position in the games I did this year. But really the first thing that I always think of with Frondell is his sort of off-puck energy and smarts and just the physicality in his game. And this is not a super complicated thing, but in a men's league, you see a guy who's confident along the boards, really willing to initiate contact and grind play down along the boards. He could be a good chip and chase guy, I think, at the higher levels, and there's a lot to go off of, and this is a decent start of just a nice body check that I saw him throw over the course of this season. This is those off-puck smarts at work here, so Frondell does a really good job anticipating this cross-ice pass, collapsing in a little bit towards the middle of the ice and blocking that shot, and then doesn't just go chasing after the puck here. You've got 45 in a pretty good position to cover the boards here, and Frondell stays in a good position here, right? Like if this puck comes down the boards this way, he might be able to cut it off. If this pass comes off the boards in here, he might be able to cut it off there as well. So smart positioning without needing to chase the puck all over the place when he recognizes he has support. Really good off-puck read here that allowed a breakup in the defensive end, and this is all stuff that's really meaningful. This leads into a high sticking penalty from Frondell, but I'm not going to fault him too much because he's just bumping and grinding so hard down below the goal line here. He hits a guy in the head as he's falling down, so, this is a high sticking penalty that probably is difficult to avoid. But again, leading with his stick before really tying up the player, aggressively pursuing the puck down below the goal line. This is the kind of forechecking that I love to see, and you'll note Frondell is, not the fastest guy out there. He doesn't have the quickest stride out there, but he gets the job done. And again, it's important to always remember that this guy is playing against men, which is not easy to do, especially in Sweden. So for him to have the willingness to put in this kind of work is, I think, valuable, and I think teams are going to notice that if they haven't already. And here he goes again, right? He uses the smarts and timing to his advantage without needing to be the fastest guy in the world. He just carries a really good amount of momentum into the corner here on this play. Frondell is this guy, if you haven't noticed, going after 47 in the corner here. I feel like once Frondell puts on a little bit more weight, and as long as he can sort of keep the same sort of skating pace, he should be able to be a more physical player in terms of success and actually not bouncing off guys like 47 here. But again, it's about the intent, and this is just another example of what you see a lot out of Frondell, this off-puck timing and physicality and energy that I think projects well to the NHL, especially as a winger. So this clip is interesting, right? So you have Frondell going into a 1-on-3 scenario down in the corner here, and you'll note here, he's in the middle of lifting 25 stick right here and just gets right through him, gets into the corner, and under really heavy pressure, really does what I think you see a lot of in the NHL. This like protecting the puck along the boards, trying to make a play, trying to get it away from the pressure, and just sticking with it, using your strength to your advantage. And obviously this doesn't go his way, but to me, this is a good example again of this forechecking energy, and I think another example of the best areas of Frondell's game, even if this pass didn't get completed. You see this kind of thing all the time in the NHL, and he is absolutely willing to muck it up and get a bit grindy down along the boards. Another one here, this is just Frondell again, just creating physicality, creating separation from an opponent to the puck. Again, maybe there's an argument to me here that being a step quicker to this puck, he could rim it around the boards and avoid the physical contact in the first place. But in the NHL, you kind of really do want guys doing this and throwing the body. You know, he still does get the stick on the puck, and he does get his body in between that player and the puck. So it's not a bad play at all is what I'm saying, but it's another impressive example of some good physicality out of him and how he's able to sort of separate the body from the puck, which is exactly what you're supposed to do when you body check. And this is the other thing Frondell does really well too after generating a turnover. This is just a really good sense of body positioning, and he tries to get a puck off the boards if you haven't noticed. So again, spinning into this contact allows him to also now be facing the puck, right? If his face and his body is facing the boards, he's on his backhand in this situation, and it's a little bit more difficult, I think, for him to get his stick on the puck. But then he kind of rotates into it, and now he's got a bit of an advantage here, and he's going to try to throw this puck out here, right? And if that happens, that's a great scoring chance, and he gets it from grinding play down along the boards, and it just hits the back of the net. So for me, the other thing too that I notice here is that Frondell immediately finds himself some open space in the offensive zone, and if this puck quickly comes back to him here, that's Leon Draisaitl's spot. You know, like we've seen Leon Draisaitl score one-timers from this spot all the time in the NHL, and I'm not comparing Anton Frondell to Leon Draisaitl, but I'm just saying sometimes this is all you need to score a goal, right? Some good grinding down below the line, quick little pass attempt, but then you get out into open space and make yourself a target, and a cross seam pass there, tape to tape with a one-timer. It's a pretty decent scoring chance, even if he's got a pretty hard angle to the net. This is another thing I think that will project extremely well to the NHL. So Frondell does have a little bit of room here, but what he does really well on this play is just protect the puck. Again, one hand on the stick, not a long-term solution generally if you ask most coaches, but just being able to put his body in the way. This is projectable stuff. You know, keep the puck away from the pursuer, generate some momentum, keep your body in the way, and keep the puck possession. Like, that's really all you can really ask for in these situations. And again, the other thing too that I notice on this play is when he's protecting the puck here, he's moving his feet, he's pushing into a stride, and he's doing so in such a way that he keeps pushing himself back against the pressure. So he's kind of, you know, continuously pushing back against the pressure that's on him, and I think that also really helps him protect the puck in this case, which to me is another sort of pretty high-end projectable trait that you don't see a lot in guys this age. More confidence under pressure here, right? He's playing with Victor Eklund here. It's no secret that I'm a huge fan of this guy, but Eklund does need guys like Frondell on his line, I think, to really help him out along the boards and really just sort of keeping away pressure. I mean, you'll note both of them are in here grinding it up, but again, Frondell does a really good job getting the puck along the boards here. He's got two dudes right on him, and he manages to find a way to kick the puck back to the point under this pressure. Again, in a men's league, much easier said than done. And again, the other thing you note on this play is after Frondell gets the puck off the boards, watch where he goes. So he gets the puck off the boards, and then he is off and running and manages to find himself in an open spot here. So he's not really under enough defensive coverage for me to consider him not an offensive threat. And again, he's still there a few frames later. And if this puck comes off the boards somehow or whatever, he's right in the right area to get a really good shot off that we're going to see later in this video. More really, really good work under pressure here from Frondell, right? You might want him to make a play a little bit quicker. He's got a man in front and all kinds of stuff going on here, but just spinning off that pressure, again, trying to get it out in front, but doesn't, and then manages to get possession and get a shot on net here. It's not a great shot, but he's right in tight. This is the kind of chaos that you can sometimes land offense from in the NHL, and he seems to be comfortable in this scenario, and that's why I have him pretty high on my list. It just seems like there's a level of comfort and safety here that I think really, really makes Frondell a potentially very, very useful player in many spots in your lineup. This is more of the same, honestly. Frondell, again, in really good position here. He could have knocked down that pass if it had gotten through this interaction below the goal line. Good supportive positioning here. He's in wide open ice still. Managed manages to get a stick in there, and then again, protecting the puck with his body. Turning his body to get between the defender and the puck is so important a lot of the time along the boards, and he does a really good job keeping it there. Now, I think he holds onto the puck a little too long here. He gets the puck wrestled off of him, but that's going to happen. You know, you can't be a guy who constantly has possession of the puck and never turns it over. I'd rather you have the puck in the first place, but for me on this play, I think it's more notable that this is a guy who's comfortable under these situations, has a really good sense of support and positioning, and a lot of, again, projectable tools. So this is kind of a thing that highlights that Frondell did play up the middle and does play in open ice quite a bit, but I don't know if this is where I would put him long-term in the NHL. I think a lot of the things that he benefits from the most or does the best is off-puck, physical stuff along the boards, and definitely off-puck offensive zone positioning. Because for me on this play, especially in a world with a bit more ice to play with, guys, for me at least, that play center, I would like to see a bit more pace and skill and puck control, but he does do a good job navigating around this oncoming forechecker, and I feel like on this play, he still has a bit of room to work with here. You know, he might be able to chip the puck in here, but I mean, I'm not going to nitpick this particular dump in, but in terms of this overall rush, it kind of showcases that Frondell does have a bit of skill to him, and he does have the capability of playing in open ice, but compared to other guys who play center in this draft, I'm not so sure I would put him in the same group as some of the other guys that I definitely could see being a center in the NHL. But, you know, it's not bad. He's in my top 10, but it just is a bit of a showcase of the capability, but in terms of projectability, I'm not so sure. And this is another reason why, right? Again, mucking it up below the goal line, he works off the pressure, spins off more pressure from a second defender here below the goal line, and just a nice little shovel pass to get it to a line mate and create some open space. Really, really nice play here from Frondell, right? I mean, I think, again, this is where he really shines, is when things are really tough, and I think that that's the most valuable thing about his game, right? Because in the NHL, the game is often tough, and I think he handles those situations really, really well, and I can see why this guy is so high, I think, in the minds of NHL general managers and scouts. This is, again, like, just so much potential here with more strength on his frame from Frondell. The puck protection against 49 here is NHL-like to me, right? How many times have you seen NHL guys, I use the phrase all the time, but how many times have you seen NHL guys drop the shoulder and power into scoring areas, right? He's got one hand on his stick and he manages to find a passing lane to put it out in front to Victor Eklund here, right? It doesn't get completed perfectly and whatever, but the point here is, again, this evasion, this ability to keep the puck in front of him and between him and a forechecker, he's just rock solid there. And so, to me, again, this is stuff that I see all the time in the NHL that is happening all the time and very, very valuable to have a guy who can do this. And again, that puck protection, that ability to drop a shoulder and just get the puck into scoring areas one way or the other, that's valuable. That's good stuff. So I kind of went against my protocol here a little bit and tracked an international game, and this is the gold medal game for the World Junior A Championship. And I just wanted to highlight this because it does showcase Frondell's ability to play up the middle, especially at the junior level, right? So Frondell on this play, again, we kind of saw something similar, but he, again, pulls the puck across a forechecker here, which to me is exactly what I'm looking for guys with some skill. You know, find a way to get through oncoming pressure one way or the other, and I think a really projectable way of doing it is look like you're going this way, pull the puck this way, and go the opposite way, right? Cross up defenders, cross up forecheckers. It really, really helps when you play with their feet. Really nice entry pass here, and then gets a one-timer here from the top of the circle. Clear shot right at the goalie. You know, say what you will, but he's got a really great shot release, both slap shot, wrist shot, whatever you want to call, whatever you want to look at with him. It's all really good. So this, again, this is when he went back down to playing against junior hockey players, and I think you see a lot more of these men's league players and what they really can do, and it really sort of refocuses what you've looked at with this player at the men's level when they go back to junior. The same kind of thing happened with Cullen Potter, who played NCAA hockey this year, and he went back to junior at the under 18s, and I thought he looked excellent. So for me with Frondell, it's just a nice reminder of, you know, okay, if this guy does play center, it's not like he can't do it, but my whole thing with him is I think his best abilities and best talents are best utilized in a lineup. You could put him higher in your lineup if he's playing on the wing, I guess is what I'm getting at. But this is a good example of the kind of stuff you do see out of him when he's playing up the middle, has some ice to play with, and gets the puck in transition. I remember this pass, and it kind of, you know, raised the hair on my arms a little bit, gave me a little bit of goosebumps because it could have gone very, very poorly. But I think he does time this really well in general. You know, if this guy were a bit quicker, then maybe it gets cut off and it gets very, very scary. But I think he makes a good read here, trying to hit this pass across the entire ice surface into some wide open ice. So again, it's this quick pass vision, I think, and he does it really, really quickly, right? He lays a bit of a hit there at the blue line, but I don't think he touches the puck for very long here and takes a quick look, quick pass, and it's moving up the ice. This was a beautiful pass from Frondell. Again, I think it highlights the limits in his ability to generate speed here, but I mean, the vision on this pass to flip it over these guys and put it in this lane, trust that Victor Eklund will use his speed to get to the puck. It's lovely, you know, and Eklund makes no mistake just rifling one from the top of the circle, right? For me, again, I don't mind players that don't necessarily have the speed and the pace that I personally look for, but it's only if they can really get the puck around the ice with their passing work here and there, and I think he does do that really, really well, and this is a great example of it that led to a point, and everybody loves points, and this was one of his many that he had this year. This is just really, really good timing on the offensive exit. Again, Frondell almost plays like a defenseman here, skating backwards, monitoring this rush going this way, and he just waits and manages the gap really, really well, and just a simple challenge with a stick and, you know, trying to get in the way. You know, it's not a great pass to him on the offensive zone entry after that, but again, the focus here for me is this positioning, this defensive awareness, this ability to sort of play off the puck and not necessarily just jump right in and try to play physical right away, but he does the good thing here and kind of just plays with a stick, plays it calm, and plays it effective. This is another reason why I think Frondell in an off-puck focused scenario on the wing especially is going to be, I think, really, really valuable. Off the puck, he doesn't touch the puck this entire play, but I love it, right? He's off the puck here, he's got a decent gap, but you'll see that he takes a route to the net that just forces this defenseman to sort of track him, and he manages to get really good body positioning and really good positioning on a potential opportunity here. It doesn't go his way, but what I really want to highlight here is Frondell's ability to cut across the entire ice surface, drag a defenseman with him across the ice, and again, if he gets a bit quicker in the future and sort of again drops that shoulder and ends up working his way maybe here, and this defenseman has trouble tracking him and he's got a clearer path to the net, then he could have a scoring chance on the rush here, and he didn't even touch the puck at all. And this is the kind of thing that I think does lead to good rush offense as a complementary, you know, a complementary winger at the top end of a lineup with guys who really move the puck really, really well. Not that Frondell can't, but you know, that's the name of their game, and I feel like Frondell complements that style of play really, really well. So Frondell is playing against men here, and he does need to get stronger. I think that's a typical thing for guys this age anyway, but again, the comfort under pressure here, that's something that I'm noticing with a lot of the players that I think are probably going in the first round this year, especially centers and forwards, is the level of comfort they have with contact and playing off of players. It's why I feel like this is kind of a draft that's full of guys that will probably round out, you know, the third line of an NHL team, just because they have this solidity to their game. They're fine under pressure. They can find ways to make plays. And if Frondell, you know, if Frondell were playing junior hockey in, say, like the OHL or something, I feel like he would have no problem handling physical pressure here. But it looks like the defenseman here who took him out along the boards is much bigger than him. I would imagine he's quite a bit older, and that's just going to happen. But for me, it's the comfort and the repetitiveness along the boards of that confidence with Frondell that I really, really love, and that ability to use his body to try to continue making possessions and making plays. And again, this is where I also think Frondell really works well as a sort of one-touch pass type guy. Just this spin pass from below the goal line. Really good stuff to do completely in stride on a pass reception here. He gets it from his forehand to his backhand pass in a little bit better room. You know, now he's given himself a really clear lane, and if he just really rifles this pass, it could be a really great scoring chance, and it almost is. Again, he doesn't touch the puck very long here, but he makes it count and does it in a way that I think you don't see a whole lot of young players doing, and this was a fun one. I remember this one. Once again, this guy does not touch the puck very much on this play, but it just showcases how he can play off of other players so well, right? This ability to just sort of sneak his way away from pressure, right? He's come from here, you know, the puck is coming around this way, and so if he can find a way to maybe get here, he could be a shooting threat or something, and watch what happens. They find him with a pass, fakes the shot. Just, it's simple. It's really basic, but it's good basic. And that's what I love about Anton Frondell, right? Like this quick thinking, this bang, bang passing. You know, he doesn't need to be the guy, right? But he is definitely, and I mean this with all the respect in the world, a guy. Like he is, you need an Anton Frondell in your lineup to sort of work off of these guys. And it's why I do think that this type of a role for him in the NHL, it could be a really, really good role for him. So this one again is a good showcase of this off-puck stuff that I love with Frondell. Again, doesn't touch the puck very long, but just watch where he goes on this play. He's in open space now. I move forward a little bit. He's still in open space. I mean, this is just a grade A scoring chance that's waiting to happen here for Frondell. He doesn't end up getting the puck, but it does get to him along the boards here. He's got oncoming pressure right away, and again, you see this showcase of this sort of high-end talent, spins off of that, and just chips the puck down low to a waiting player down in the below the goal line. Overall, just the spacing that he has here and the awareness to get to that puck and work off of the pressure and just keep it down low. I love this kind of thing. Again, it's not the fanciest thing in the world, but he just goes out and is effective a lot. This is another one. Really, really nice little pass on this breakout here. He is pretty open, but just watch. He does not take very long with the puck. Just a little boop, hits a guy in transition, gets the puck off the boards. Obviously, it doesn't, end up a scoring chance or anything, but this kind of thinking along the boards, this is the stuff that NHL coaches are going to want. He's going off for a change, but he still finds a way to make a play happen, right? Like for me, if you ask me, I watch a lot of hockey, and it's far more common for a guy like Frondell or any player, I would say, in this situation, to just take the puck and blast it into the offensive zone, cross the center line, and just get your shift off. But, if you can do it, I love to see just quick little passes off the boards here. Really good support from guys who recognize that puck is along the boards. And now you have a lane, and maybe you do end up dumping it anyway, but I'd rather see if I can maintain possession. Maybe you take it this way if this defenseman is going this way. Just sort of try to make something happen, even if you are at the end of your shift. To me, if this is a team I'm coaching, I would love to sort of try to have a system that really relies upon support, getting the puck off the boards, and minimizing dump and chases unless I really have to and I really need to get the puck past multiple defenders. And this is Frondell scoring a goal. Again, just goes to the net. If you go to the net, good things happen. And he is a very good example of that as well. He got quite a few scoring chances from in tight, and he just energy, go to the net, tap it in. Easy peasy. So we're going to get into some areas of potential improvement with him, and I'm going to be honest, I don't really have a whole lot to say here about Frondell in terms of areas of potential improvement. It's more about highlighting things that I think might, right now as he is, limit him from like really supremely high-end NHL upside. And I think it really just comes down to the skating and the pace of his game and the skill level and how those two things interact. To me, the best players in the draft are the ones who you give the puck to and they can make a ton of things happen all over the ice. And I'm not so sure that Frondell is one of those. This is just a clip where it kind of highlights he doesn't generate a ton of speed very quickly with his skating stride a lot of the time, especially on the puck. The skill level is okay here, but he kind of just skates himself into pressure and gets the puck knocked off of him a little bit too easily. Again, this is more just to highlight, maybe the fact that this guy is more of a, especially outside the offensive zone, a quick puck touch, read the ice, make a play, keep it simple type player, and maybe not a guy that commands sort of 200 feet of open ice as a first line center or something at the end of the day. And again, I'm not going to nitpick this one too badly, but again, the lack of sort of foot speed here for Frondell leaves him a step behind on this defensive rush. It's not the end of the world, and he also mops up for it at the end of the clip here with some good defensive zone play. So, if Frondell gets quicker in the next few years, then yeah, I think the sky's the limit for him as, say, a center in the NHL. But I feel like, I like looking at players as what their best traits are and where they might be a best fit and sort of set the bar there, and if things improve, then great. But this I think is a decent example of sort of the lack of pace and foot speed, and I think how that can sort of leave him a step behind here and there. But he does have that ability to follow play, get back involved, stay competitive, and stay intense on the play. One of the things that will be evident in the data, and again, I don't just pull all of the times when a guy sends a pass that doesn't go completed, but Frondell's pass completion, especially in open ice, was a little bit of a mixed bag, I would say. And it's because of stuff like this, right? Like he takes a little bit of time in open ice to decide to make a play and then just kind of passes this puck right into traffic. And I just found this happened a little bit too often for me, where just managing the puck and managing possession, and really I use the word quarterback, but like quarterbacking a rush is not, I would say, Frondell's strong suit right now. But at the end of the day, once he gets back here, he's still in the play. He's still involved and everything's good, but it's just a matter of like potential role, potential value, and what he brings to the game. Because when I watched a guy like Victor Eklund, not only do I think he worked better in that scenario running the puck up the ice himself, but his numbers were significantly better than Frondell's were. And that's it for Anton Frondell. I'm not gonna lie, I think this guy has a lot of potential. I think there's a really, really safe floor of ability here that I think projects really well to the NHL for Frondell, but I'm also not really certain of the value of his role in terms of the context of draft value, right? It really comes down down to preference. I think if you really wanted a player who you knew you could get something useful out of the player in a lot of key areas of the NHL level of play, Frondell might be a guy that goes in the top 3 this year, maybe, I think. Would I do that? I don't think so, but I do think you're getting a very valuable potential player here because he brings really solid smarts to the game, really confident resilience under pressure, and he does it against men. He's a really good shooter. There wasn't a ton of examples of that, and we'll get into that in a second in the data, but he's a player also that really was willing to get physical at the men's level. He was pretty good in the forechecking areas of the game as well. This is just a guy who brings a lot to the table that he's probably, to put it simply, like the best complementary player in this draft and one of the best complementary players that have come around in the last little while. Take that for what you will, whether you think that's really, really good or maybe not worth drafting really, really high. I honestly think it just comes down to philosophy, right? There might be guys with more flash, razzle-dazzle, skill, offensive ability, and creativity that are more reliable in transition than Frondell is, but you can't help but watch this guy at the men's level and go, yeah, there's a lot to like about this player. So for me, I think Frondell is a player who I've slowly worked up my board since the beginning of the year. I think he got better and better since coming back from injury, which makes sense. And for me, I mean, he's a guy who may very well end up in my second tier after seeing more of this and seeing what I've taken of him over the course of the season. I just feel like for me, he brings a little bit less of that upside that I think some of the other guys ahead of him bring, like teammate Victor Eklund. And also Eklund has his own level of projectability for different reasons. But Frondell, I think, brings some very, very intriguing abilities to the game. And so for me, yeah, super high talented player with a really projectable floor. And I think, you know, if you want a third line center, I think you're going to get something like that out of Frondell if that's what you want. But I think Frondell could be a player that you could put on your first line and he could be just like your Evander Kane style guy where he's got resilience, he's got physicality to him, but he's got some offensive finishing ability, but you wouldn't make Evander Kane run your entire first line, right? Like that just doesn't really make sense. But Evander Kane could be a very good, you know, he had his time as a very good complementary physical guy, and he's in a Stanley Cup final with the Edmonton Oilers right now. So for me, I think Frondell does a really good job embodying a lot of those traits and doing a really good job sort of, you know, projecting to the NHL in a good, responsible way, especially if you put him with some guys who can maybe make up for some of the areas of improvement. The analytical picture on him is not as positive, I would say. He doesn't waste his shooting opportunities. He's getting a lot of good chances from in tight, but he doesn't really drive a lot of his team's offense, and a lot of this also combines the international game that I did of him. He just wasn't that involved relative to other players. His analytical profile is quite a bit worse than a guy like Victor Eklund. The possession numbers are worse, especially offensively. The transition efficiency both directions is worse, but he was more involved defensively. He was throwing quite a bit of hits, but so was Eklund. You know, they both bring different traits to the game. Frondell wasn't driving as much, you know, possession to the middle of the ice as Eklund was, but at the end of the day, I mean, he just brings something different. It's a different flavor of hockey to the table where, you know, when I look at the data and I just kind of go, it's not amazing, and there are definitely a lot of players who are better. You know, 52% of his passes are going unreceived, 80% of his passes on offensive transitions are missed. That's not a great combination for a guy who I trust with the puck a lot in a game, but for a guy who gets scoring chances, you know, and can sort of chip in off the puck a lot, if he just gains an extra gear in foot speed, I think his defensive transition numbers improve. If he can just gain another gear of foot speed and skill, I think his offensive transition numbers improve. The development case for Frondell is going to be very, very, very interesting to keep an eye on over the next few years. So for me, it's not the best analytical profile, but it's one where I look at it and I kind of see a little more context and nuance where I kind of could see things improve from here. And it's also in such a way where there are areas where I think that you can really see him as a good player at the next level. And for example, I don't track things like how well he fends off pressure from guys. I don't know how to track that information, but he does do it. It's pretty obvious. And I feel like that's an area where Eklund was a little bit more deficient. So they're a bit of a mirror image, I think. And so I'm a fan of this kid. Good player. He's been a fun one to watch this year. And I think he's going to be a fun one to watch in the NHL, assuming he makes it there one day. It might take a little bit of time for him to really sort of, you know, get his foothold in the NHL and really sort of solidify himself. But I could see him being a very important role player for whoever it is that drafts him, wherever it is that they draft him. I have no idea where he could could go. But based on what I've seen of him and how he plays, I could see him going really, really high. I've got him at 7, I think, right now, and I could see him going higher than that, and I hope this video explains why. So with that, we're going to call it. Thanks very much for joining me. This was a lot of fun. I'm a fan of this kid, and I hope you are too. With that, definitely like and subscribe if you haven't already, and if you really liked it, consider a subscription over at Scouching.ca. It helps us a lot directly. You get access to our Discord server, as well as plenty of cool, fun data tools and visualization tables and all kinds of fun stuff that you can't find anywhere else. So with that, thank you very much for joining me. We will see you in the next one.